Hello, I am Michael Myrga, candidate for assistant principal. Before I give my response to the prompt, I would like to define two terms that I will be using today. The first is I will refer to the student who has received the racial harassment as the victim, and then the students who gave the racial harassment, I will refer to them as the aggressors. So, given the prompt, it appears that the parents of the victim are unhappy with the school's response to the bullying of their daughter. And as an assistant principal, one of the things I have to do is listen to my stakeholders. And these stakeholders at the current moment are very unhappy. So here's what I would do to help make the situation better for them. They have a concern about Dodea's zero tolerance policy on racial harassment. Well, that is defined in the administrative instructions. And this is a policy that is written. And then from there, I know that it's something I can take action on. The second thing is the parents were concerned about the lack of transparency of a formal investigation. And yes, there would be an investigation. Both sides, both the victim and the aggressors, would have written statements, and they would also call witnesses. And for the sake of this scenario, we are going to assume that yes, there was racial harassment and racial slurs were used against that child. So here's what we can do. So punishment can vary school to school, but here are a few things I think that we should do. One, I think that if possible, I would have a no contact contract between the two aggressors and the victim. Two, if possible, I would change the schedules of the aggressors. If I can change an English class, a math class, maybe change an elective, I would try to separate the students as much as I can. Now, given the fact that it's a middle school environment, I would believe that the students using these words, the aggressors, knew what they were saying. And there's also a code of conduct within the school and some other clubs. Given that this is a middle school level, we could look at possibly withholding things like athletics because middle school students can be part of track and cross country. Certain honor organizations have a code of conduct, and this student most certainly would be removed for this racial harassment. I would look into those as possibilities. And also there's always in-school suspension and out-of-school suspension. During the investigation, let's just say it was determined that this was an isolated event. If this was an isolated event within the school, we would keep monitoring it. And I would hope to have a safe place and create a safe place for the victim to come to any adult within the building to say, hey, this is happening to me. Can you please help? If through the investigation, it is determined that this is a more systemic problem, I would then call upon my friends at the district office and also my principal and school counselor at the school level to see if we can maybe have an assembly during a leap period, for example, where we can talk about words and what they mean and how words can hurt, and also just about racism in general. So I believe by doing this would help answer the parents' questions. There are three concerns about the zero tolerance on racial harassment, which is given through the DODEA administrative instruction. Yes, I would confirm, and I would do a proper investigation where both sides would have their say in court. And then third, once it was determined that there was some harassment, I would take various courses of action. I would try to put everything on the aggressor side when changing schedules, because if the victim has done nothing wrong, I would try not to mess with the victim's schedule and alter the victim's schedule. I would try to focus on the aggressors and then again have punishments for things within school and even things like field day, field trips. If there's anything like that I can withhold, I would. So thank you for listening to my response. Have a great day.